Feet flat, soften your knees, rock your weight back into your heels, roll your shoulders down and back, and bring your arms up. And stay focused on your center and lower yourself over to one side. And lift up using your oblique muscles and the other side. Your oblique muscles are running along the sides of your torso. And again, over. So when you engage your oblique, take the pressure out of your lower back. And again, over one smooth arc from your spine. Keep your weight even on your feet. And back to the center. Good. And bring your arms down. And now reach up with one arm and down the other. And come back into the center. And again, reach open and pull this movement all the way off your fingertips. And back in. And now take a deep breath. Exhale. Another deep breath and open your chest, your elbows, your wrists, your hands. Exhale back. And bring your arms up overhead. And pull against your own strength. Pull your elbows back behind your ears. Open your rib cage. Let your hips just hang from your spine. And switch your grip to the other side. Good. And gently release your arms and pull one arm across the front. Wiggle your fingers a little bit. Open up that back muscle. And other side. Pull open this shoulder. Wiggle a little bit. Good. And now take half a step forward with your front foot, big step back with your back foot, and keeping your back leg straight and your posture vertical, bend forward with the front leg until you feel a good stretch right here in your hip flexor. Sink into it, open this muscle, bring your arms up. Good, and now toes of the front foot up, back flat, and just lean forward until you feel a good stretch in the muscles behind your leg. And put those toes down and switch. Other side again. Half a step forward with your front foot. Big step back with your back foot. Back leg straight, posture vertical, just sink down. You should feel a good stretch in this hip flexor. Bring your arms up for a little extra stretch. And release the toes of your front foot. Back flat, come down. Stretch out that hamstring. And again, come back up to the front. And one last thing to warm up your hips and your quadriceps. Out and around, and up. Sink your weight and pull up. Other way. Out and around and up. Really stretch open this hip muscle around, up, and one more time. Around and up. Good. Now follow me through a moving meditation to get us grounded. Starting in your dance posture, bring your arms up, palms towards the ceiling, look up, open at the waist, let your hips fall. Take a deep breath. Exhale, bring your arms down to the side and your hands in front. And your right hand turns out. And that gesture acknowledges the space that you dance in. And both hands up, and the left falls front and the right falls back. And bring your wrists to meet, even to the front. Bring the right in front of the left and sit down on one heel. And look at the floor and touch the floor with your fingertips. That's for the surface that you dance on. And touch your ears for the music that you dance to, and touch the floor again. Bring your hands together and touch your forehead. That's for your teacher, and look up and touch your center. That's for your ancestors, and open up. And one more gesture out is for the people that you dance with. And stand up and bring everything together and close in front. I want to mention a bit about the importance of posture to the dance. I'm sure we would all agree that good posture makes a great dancer, but do we really know what good posture is? The human spine is designed in such a way as to support the weight of the body without putting an additional strain on the muscles, which would inhibit movement. However, your daily posture favors your upper body, relying on a slight curve at your tailbone for stability. For this kind of dance, we want to shift that stability to the rib cage, leaving the tailbone free to move. This rib cage lift is sometimes mistaken for an arch in the low back. This is not the case. In lifting the rib cage and releasing the tailbone, we are trying to spare the low back by taking the tension out of it. This dance posture may feel awkward at first, but the more you use it and get used to the support, the better your back will feel. With your feet flat, bring your heels as close together as comfortable. Soften your knees and rock your weight back into your heels and release your tailbone. This should take the tension out of your lower back. Now roll your shoulders back and down and lift your rib cage in the front using the muscles in the middle of your back. This posture should leave you feeling supported from behind and open in front so that you can move more easily from one movement to the next. The shape of the arm is always a soft curve. This is effected by pulling the shoulder down and pulling the elbow up. So when your arm is at your hip, your shoulder is down, your elbow pulls forward. To shoulder level, your shoulder is down, your elbow lifts up. And overhead, your shoulder is down and your elbow is pulling back. The taksim is the most basic of the slow movements. It's a lateral figure 8 traveling through the hips. It's simply a continuous weight shift from right to left. It's like walking in place. The key is the exaggeration of the weight shift paired with a simultaneous contraction of the oblique on that same side. Standing in dance posture with the tailbone released, feet flat on the floor, gradually shift your weight from the center over to the right leg. Now release all the pressure on the left leg and let that hip drop. Repeat that shift to the left and drop the right side. The rib cage remains lifted. It may shift from one side to the other, but it never loses its lift. Your body's natural inclination is to seek balance, to keep you from toppling over, so let it shift to the weighted leg as you perform the movement. To create the dramatic loops of the figure 8, engage the oblique as you begin to lift the drop hip. Your oblique muscles run along the sides of your torso in overlapping diagonal layers. They are connected to the pelvis bone at one end and the lower rib cage at the other. By contracting them and not dropping the rib cage, you can create a smooth loop as you lift the hip. Imagine that you are standing between two panes of glass, one in front, one behind. This figure 8 does not travel from front to back, but rather up and down, as if you were drawing a figure 8 against a wall. Keep your heels flat on the floor. Use your knees to move your hips up and down. You can reverse the taksim by sending the weighted hip out and over and then releasing it as you switch your weight to the other side. We have found that everybody has a natural inclination for one or the other direction. Pursue the direction that comes easily to you and then work on the other. Arm movements can make or break a presentation. Strong, graceful arms are like a frame for a work of art. You are showcasing whatever is inside of them. Arm undulations take place shoulder height and higher, never dropping below the rib cage. The mechanics of this movement require two things to happen. Always with your arm in a soft curve and lifted to shoulder level, the arm rotates forward at the shoulder and then the entire arm is lifted up as if it were being led by the elbow. The key is in depressing the shoulder blade. As you lift the arm up, instead of releasing the shoulder and letting it raise up, squeeze the shoulder blade and press it into the back. This will make the shoulder flatten out and the resulting contraction will travel down the arm and off the fingertips. It's the follow-through that makes this arm movement so elegant. Visualize rolling a marble from the fingertips of one hand along the arm across the shoulders and neck to rest on the fingertips of the opposite hand. Give the marble enough time to travel this pathway at an even pace. Another useful visualization will keep your arms from dropping too low. Imagine that you have a tabletop at ribcage level. As the arm makes its descent, you want to avoid slapping the tabletop, so you'll rotate the arm in enough time so just the fingertips brush the tabletop. This arm movement will seem tiring until you condition the muscles. However, just varying the position of the arms will allow the muscles to trade off and rest. The body wave and belly roll are companion movements. Both are an undulation, but the body wave uses the spine to create a large movement that starts at the shoulders and rolls down through the hips, where the belly roll uses just the muscles in the front of the abdomen. A body wave can be subtle or dramatic. The smaller, more refined movement is used most often, saving the bigger wave for accents. The body wave gives the illusion of a continuous upward movement, like smoke rising into the air or standing up from a seated position. You can also visualize it as standing with your back to a wall and alternately touching first the shoulders, then the rib cage, then the waist, and finally the hips. Keeping the head level, shift the rib cage and shoulders forward off the center. The hips will begin to shift back. Don't let the low back curl up. Try to keep the tailbone pointing towards the floor. Now lift the rib cage and shift through the center and back, as if you were trying to touch the wall with your shoulders. Here the low back will feel like it wants to tighten up. At this point, start to bring the rib cage back to center as you release the tension in the hips. Imagine reaching back to the wall with your waist and finally the hips before letting the body return to the center position. Although the body wave is not a rhythmical movement, it does have 5 clear sections of equal intensity: chest, shoulders, waist, hips, and center. The belly roll is the result of sequentially contracting the 3 sections of the rectus abdominis muscle. This is the muscle that runs along the front center of the abdomen in 3 pairs. This contraction is aided by the obliques, which work like the strings of a corset, pulling from the sides to flatten the working section. Rolling from the top would look like this. And from the bottom would look like this. But what is also happening is an expansion of the rib cage, which causes the diaphragm to expand. And this is what gives the belly roll its 3D quality. You can practice by isolating the top and bottom sections of the muscle. Contract the top and squeeze the rib cage, letting the bottom relax. Then contract the bottom as if you were pulling your belly button in towards the spine and let the top relax. Now try rolling the contraction down, releasing the sections that are not part of the contraction. When you roll down, contract the top, squeeze the rib cage, and lift up through the diaphragm. As you release the top, try to push the diaphragm out. When you roll up, start with the ribs and diaphragm expanded. As you pull the contraction up, try to gradually squeeze the ribs and contract the diaphragm as you release the lower abdomen. The belly roll is isolated in the abdominal muscles of the belly. There is no use of the spine or rocking of the hips. Remember, it's a contraction, moving vertically either down or up. Don't give up. This is a deep movement and it will respond to regular practice. Let's first look at the smaller of the two movements, the rib cage rotation. This movement is very subtle and takes a while to become big enough to be useful on stage. but it is an excellent exercise to condition the oblique and back muscles and for developing identity, expression, and range of motion for the rib cage. The rib cage rotation is a vertical circle, as if you were drawing it against the wall. Hold the hips still and check your posture. Visualize the center of your body as a line running through the crown of your head through to a point between your feet. This line won't move. The rib cage will move around it. Now lift your rib cage as far as you can to the right front. Now extend the rib cage to the center front and over to the extreme left front. Gravity will smooth out the bottom of the circle, but don't let your chest and shoulders sag. This movement is the result of your obliques alternately contracting and releasing in order to tilt the rib cage and create the circle. Hands can rest at the side of your hips, lifted to shoulder level in a frame, or the left arm can float up, elbow turned out, palm forward. The torso rotation includes the head, rib cage, shoulders, and arms. In contrast to the subtlety of the rib cage rotation, the torso is very dramatic. This movement draws a horizontal heart shape, starting in the front and ending in the front. Hips again are isolated. Eventually, the arms will layer over the movement, but for now, just lift them to shoulder height, elbows lifted. Start by shifting the entire torso, including the head and shoulders, slightly ahead of the center. Now shift the torso to the left, across the back, over to the right, and ahead of the center before dropping it back onto the center. Visualize brushing your shoulders against a curved surface. The shift to the back, which can be quite deep, is supported by the muscles that lift the rib cage. Please don't put any strain on your low back. You can add shape to the torso rotation by slightly angling the shoulders as if you were looking at your center. The head remains level unless you are adding a deep back bend. Add the arms by layering a complete undulation, starting in the center and moving first to the left. One of the most often used embellishments is the hand floreo. This gesture is taken from the more formal floreos in flamenco dance. The hand floreo can accompany a taksim, rib cage or torso rotation, body wave, or belly roll. However, the hand floreo does not accompany arm movements. Let's first look at the floreo as an isolated movement. Stand in good dance posture. Lift your left arm to shoulder level, elbow turned up and out, palm forward. Now imagine that you are using your thumb and middle finger to pick up a small hourglass that is sitting on a countertop in front of you. Lift through the wrist and turn the hourglass over. Set it down upside down on the countertop. Release your hand and let it rotate back to the starting position. Pick up the hourglass again, lift through the wrist and return it to its original position. Repeat. Reverse the direction for variety
and turn the hourglass over by starting with your thumb and middle finger facing out, as if the hourglass were upside down to start with. Lift through the wrist and bring your hand back to the original position. This is a repetitive movement. You will keep turning that same little hourglass over and over in the same direction. But for variety, try turning it once in, once out, repetitively. Now try it on the right hand, and then with both hands. Remember to keep your arm isolated, shoulder pressed down, elbow lifted. Don't let your arms flap like wings. Only the hands should move until you decide to add another element. The circle step does not travel, but draws a circle around the body. The active element in this step are the hips. The lower body makes a large hip circle from the left to the right as the feet do a simple turning step to the right. Like the camel walk, the circle step has no count, but works with the phrasing of the music. Let's look at the feet. Start with both feet pointing forward. Shift the weight to the right foot. Pick up the left foot and place it perpendicular to the right foot. Shift the weight to the left foot as you lift the heel of the right foot and pivot on the ball of the right foot until both feet are parallel again. This can be a quarter step or a third step, depending on the music and circumstance. Now let's look at the hips. As you are picking up the left foot, begin to circle with the left hip. Continue to circle as the weight falls on the left foot and the right foot begins to pivot. As both feet become parallel, both hips circle out forward of center front. With both feet still in this parallel position, continue to circle the hips right and finally to the back, and pause before starting again. The gesture to the back is more shallow than to the left, front, or right. Keep your tailbone pointing down at the floor and avoid hyperextending the hips or arching the low back. This seems awkward because it is. The subtle weight shifts as the hips circle must occur in a very isolated way so as not to throw the body off balance. The left arm is extended, elbow turned up, palm front. A shallow hand floreo may accompany this step. As with the layering techniques, the palm of the hand reflects what the body is doing. The hand and the hips stay on the same circuit. The magic of this step is in the delay of the arm as first the feet, then the hips start the circle. Foot, hip, arm. Foot, hip, arm. Keep the head level. This step is quite dramatic with a sword or pot balanced on the head. Levels are an embellishment to be used in layering. A level is in effect a very ladylike squat, with the back straight at all times. You can practice levels by first just lowering yourself down, back erect, knees close together but not pressing. It's your choice whether to use flat feet or the balls of the feet. Arms outstretched, overhead, or split. Flat feet will allow you to descend midway, whereas balls of feet and strong thighs will allow descent all the way down. If you do choose to go all the way down, don't release the tension and sit, or you may not get back up without a jerk. Practice this simple exercise until you can descend without toppling forward. For example, you can use levels with a slow movement like taksim. You can also use levels with stationary shimmies.
The Egyptian basic is a lovely step. In 4 counts, even on both sides, it emphasizes the bounce and sway of the hips while the arms frame the face and chest. With 90% of your weight on the flat left foot, the right foot gestures forward and pushes off the floor with a little twist, sending the hip up and letting it drop at the same time that the right arm reaches back. Repeat this gesture on the left. The weight switch from right to left produces a bouncing, swaying effect that can be played up or down depending on the tempo of the music. To get a really dramatic hip, keep the shoulders square to the front plane and try not to twist your whole leg as you twist the foot. Restriction of these areas will emphasize the hip as it bounces up and forward. If your right hip is up, your right arm is up, and vice versa. Think of your wrist being attached to your hip by a string, so when your arm pulls back, it pulls the same side hip up with it. When your arm drops, your hip drops with it. Extend the arm fully behind the head, framing the face instead of blocking it. The lower arm drops no further than the ribcage. Draw the arms apart with deliberation. Here again, depressing the shoulder blade will add drama to the shoulder and arm. To travel backwards, slide the supporting left foot back on 4, catching the next 1 on the leading right foot. The arms will remain the same. The basic pivot bump and choo-choo are really the same step. The difference being that the pivot bump turns you in place and the choo-choo travels to the right. Start with 90% of your weight on your flat left foot. Ball of the right foot propped next to the instep. Now, with your rib cage held level, bounce the right hip by transferring just a little bit of weight into the right foot and then releasing it. Your hip bounces up on the downbeat. This is a 1 count step, and we'll count it in groups of 4. Pivoting counterclockwise, the arms provide variety.
always with a soft curve, the left arm held straight up, the right at shoulder level, or the right arm up, held slightly behind the head, with the left wrapped around the front of the body, elbow lifted. There is not a specific count to complete this turn. You decide how fast or slow to make it depending on the music. As the choo-choo, this step pulls you continuously to the right. On the upbeat, your foot gestures forward, and on the downbeat, the left foot comes to meet it.
Just as the taksim is the most basic slow movement, the shimmy is the basic fast movement. It's just like walking. It can take you forwards, backwards, sideways, in a circle, or turn. The shimmy is a 2-count step where each count, or beat, is broken into 4 quarter notes. Begin the shimmy by just walking to the beat. If you were to analyze your movement as you walk, you would find that your weight is carried on the leg that is supporting your body as the other leg gestures forward to step. The shimmy follows this simple locomotion, but adds an exaggerated bounce to the step. At full speed, this bounce looks random, but at half speed, you can see it as up, down, up from the knees and hip flexors. The goal of this step is to display the round, bouncy nature of a woman's hips. Each step of the shimmy contains 4 quarter notes, and yet it appears that we are missing the 4th beat. It is made up in the weight shift from one foot to the other. The standard pattern of right, left, right on the zills actually matches the movement of the shimmy. When your zills play right, your hip is up, left, your hip is down, right, your hip is up, and pause, you switch your weight. There is a bit of an optical illusion with this step. It is the weight-bearing leg that is doing the bouncing. So you have to take a step, put your weight down for the hip to be able to bounce, as you are using the floor to push into and off of. You can do a shimmy on flat feet or the balls of the feet. To shimmy back, you need not change anything except the direction you are traveling. The lead foot still carries the weight and moves up, down, up before switching to the opposite side. The Arabic is also a companion to the body wave, this time using the feet and stepping rhythmically. The Arabic is a 2-count step, performed on the balls of the feet with the right foot leading. The weight of the body is rocked continuously from the front right foot to the back left foot. As you rock your weight onto the ball of the right foot, pull your chest up. As you rock back onto the ball of the left foot, tuck your hips under. Keep the knees flexed and the head level. Although your body is rocking from one foot to the other, your head remains on the same steady plane. Arms can be out to the side, overhead, or right arm up, left arm wrapped loosely across the chest.
We learned the Egyptian Basic in Tribal Basics Volume 1. Now let's add a half turn to make it a more versatile step. This turn is 180 degrees to the left. Begin the step with the weight on the flat left foot, ball of the right foot propped next to the left instep, heel raised. Push the right hip up and down and place the right foot flat. Now switch the weight to the right foot and push the left hip up and down. Turn halfway around yourself to the left and finally put the left foot flat. You should end up in the original position, ready to repeat from the beginning. The arms for this step are the same as the basic, except that you want to consciously keep the left arm lifted until you turn under it. Imagine that you are holding onto a string with your thumb and index finger and turning under that point. The count for this step is and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You are turning on the upbeat between 3 and 4. Keep your shoulders square and let your hips make a big twist from side to side. There are 3 sounds to recognize from your zills. The first, and most often used, is the ring. Bring the cymbals together and apart quickly, allowing the metal to ring. Always use your whole hand to produce the sound, not just your thumb and middle finger. The second sound is the tap. Muffle the middle finger cymbal with your index and ring finger. Support the remaining cymbal by gently bending the thumb. Tap the two pieces of metal together. The third sound is the clap. This is a good technique for emphasis. Hold your hands in front of your body horizontally as if holding a piece of paper. Clap the cymbals together evenly. Let's practice with a simple right-left using these three sounds alternately. We'll start in quarter time, move up to half time, and then to full time. Here's the ring. Now try it with the tap. And finally with the clap. Fancy patterns are not necessary for successful musical accompaniment. What is important is an even tone and correct rhythm and tempo. Let's look at the standard pattern of right, left, right. This pattern will fit any piece of music in 2/4 or 8. The first two strokes are plain, the third is accented, the fourth is silent. Any rhythm that the drummer can play with her two hands on the drum can also be played with your two hands on the zills. The ballady is a good example. In a measure of 4 beats, 2 accented rights are followed by a standard right, left, right, followed by an accented right, followed by a standard right, left, right, followed by an unaccented right, left. Depending on how you accent it, the last unaccented right-left can wrap around to the front.